Hello everyone. I hope you remember that we started with a new chapter, The Sword in the Stone. It's a nice chapter. The story is about King Arthur and how he actually became a king. Now we have turned till page number 61 where Merlin took the small child, where he took the child and he uh, went straight to Sir Hector's place, who lived in the castle somewhere in the valley of old England. So he stayed there, and Merlin, he took the child to Sir Hector. Now behind that, the motive was that Merlin wanted Arthur to be brought up in such a way that one day he would become a great king. Now the same thing is here. When he took the child to Sir Hector, he tells Sir Hector that treat him like a son, that I want you to treat him like a son, teach him to be a true knight. He must learn to be simple and straight before he is noble and great. So these are the qualities that Merlin wanted Arthur to get from Sir Hector. After that, Sir Hector, he already had a son. His name was Kay, right? So he was elder to Arthur, and they both stayed together as brothers. Arthur and Kay, he used to bully Arthur. They used to fight, and of course there was love and understanding between them. Now occasionally Merlin, he used to go and visit Sir Hector to see the upbringing of the king, right? So this is the whole thing. Let's read it. So I've written it here so that you can understand. King Uther and Yegne had a son, Arthur, and Arthur was actually raised by Sir Hector and Kay, his son. They were there with Arthur. Now this is the later part of the story. We'll come to that later on. So let's see what it is here. Now Arthur grew up as if he was Sir Hector's son, his second son, for there was already Kay in the family, right? Kay and Arthur thought that they were brothers, and no one else but Merlin and Sir Hector knew the secret. So nobody was aware of it, whether they were brothers or not, except Merlin and Sir Hector. Quite often Merlin visited Sir Hector, as an old friend might visit an old friend. So maybe Merlin used to visit, but he never came as as Merlin the magician or something. He used to come as an old friend has come to see an old friend. Now finally he wanted to know how they were actually going around. What about the boys? What kind of compatibility is there? So he says, how is he going on? How is he getting on? Hector said, good, said Merlin, nodding his head. Now, of course, boys should quarrel, not now and then. Do they laugh as well? Okay, now he really wanted to know how these boys, they get along. And so Hector told him, yes, of course, they quarrel, they fight, but they do get along like brothers. So everything was fine. Then he says, Kay bullied Arthur quite a bit because the boy was younger. But Arthur learned to stand his ground and laugh at Kay. So Arthur was again a very good or a strong charactered boy, and it was easy for him to stand his ground and fight for himself. So he was always there. Then he says here, Kay became a knight when he was old enough. Of course, when Kay was all grown up, he had the qualities of a knight. He became a knight. And of course, Arthur, who was younger to Kay, he served as his squire. Now, who is the squire? I'll read it here. It is given here. Now, see, Kay became a knight when he was old enough. Then he told Arthur, that you should call me Sir Kay. Arthur laughed. Stop tripping on your spurs. Kay proudly practiced walking and riding in his new armor. Arthur acted as his squire and rode behind him, right? So he was always there with his elder brother. Now, this was going on at Sir Hector's place. Now, back in Tintagel, finally King Uther died. And the moment he died, there were rumors that he once had a child, but still, they had no idea where he was. And because the king was no more there, so the barons and the knights, these two tribes, they started fighting with each other. So there was all this fight, quarrels, and chaos, all because of the kingdom. See, it says here, Uther Pendragon died in distant Tintagel. There were rumors that he once had a son who disappeared. There were no one okay, there were no other rightful heirs to the throne of Britain, so nobody was there. Barons and knights quarreled with each other. Each spoke out for himself. There was fighting and unhappiness up and down the land. So there was all sadness, fighting, and quarrel for the kingdom. Merlin watched the troubles grow. He rode to England to talk to the Archbishop. Now, of course, Merlin, he was the one who was taking care of the whole of the kingdom. He went to the Archbishop. He spoke to him. He told him about what was going on. Christmas comes, he said. Call all the knights and barons to your cathedral. Let them bury their quarrels and sing carols for a day or two. The Archbishop sent out summons. Summons means the messages. He actually called them out. And finally, knights and barons, these two tribes, they came to the cathedral where this Archbishop was. And of course, they grumbled and complained. They were not happy to see each other. However, finally it was the Christmas time and they were okay. They sang their Christmas carols with good cheer and jostled out into the December air. There in the center of the courtyard stood a stone. A fig tree was here before, they cried. Now they were actually enjoying, they actually, forgot about the quarrel thing over the kingdom, and they came together, they were singing carols, they were enjoying. And, in the courtyard of that cathedral there once stood a fig tree, but there was no more that tree, but there was the stone, right? Okay, and it says here, there was the handle of a sword in the heart of the stone. The blade was driven deep within. Letters of gold were written round the rock. He who draws this sword is Britain's rightful lord. Now there was this stone and the sword was actually driven deep within. And it was written with the gold alphabets, that gold words, that he who withdraws that sword will be the Britain's rightful lord. Now, of course, first of all, they all thought maybe it's some kind of a joke. They laughed and all. They tried to pull the sword. Now, one by one, they still tried their luck. Show off, my turn, get lost. They keep tugging, they keep pulling each other, struggle at the sword, and finally, they thought maybe it's an April Fool, early April Fool, and they left the sword and the stone. They moved out, they had a tournament, they played, and they forgot about the sword and everything. Now their game was, they were actually fighting with the help of a mace and a mallet. What is a mace and a mallet? It's a heavy spiked club, right? And mallet is a wooden hammer. Now they knocked each other to the ground with lance and sword. Now it was a fun kind of a tournament. They were all enjoying the tournament. There was no real quarrel or fight. So these barons and knights, they were enjoying that time, that Christmas time. Now, of course, they all were there. Sir Hector came with Kay and Arthur. They were there. Even they were actually enjoying the tournament. When Kay, he thought, when he was there, he wanted a sword. Now, of course, he wanted a sword. So what he did, see, it is given here on page 63. What will you fight with, lance or sword? Asked Arthur eagerly. I came with lance, said Kay. Right? Kay, and he was not happy with the long spear. He says here, but now I see that the strongest men are wiping at each other with their swords. It would be good to have a go at that. No trouble, Arthur said. I'll go and get your sword. So of course Arthur thought he would go easily and get his sword. He turned his horse about and galloped off. But as he passed the courtyard where the stone was set, he saw the sword. Now, of course, he had no idea what was written in it, what it is all about. but he was the rightful heir, right? He was the king's son. And of course, he had the power to draw that sword out. He took it from the stone and, and galloped back. Kay took the sword. He looked at it with surprise and showed the sword to Hector. Who? Kay. Kay thought now he is the rightful heir because he has got the sword. But that was not it. Hector told, Arthur told Hector, look, father, this is the sword from the stone. Does this mean I am the Britain's rightful lord? What's he on about? Asked Arthur. Now Arthur had no idea what was happening. So what Hector did, he took the sword from the boy, he took it and he again actually he drove it back into the stone and he waited. He told Kay that now I want you to pull that sword out. But for Kay, it was difficult to pull it out. Then he asked Arthur to pull that sword out. And of course, Arthur was the one who was able to pull it out. Read the writing on the rock. What was written, he who draws this sword is Britain's rightful lord. Oh no, said Arthur, please no. No, must I do all those deeds and right these wrongs? You must, Sir Hector said from the bended knees, for you are the king of Britain now. So who was the king of Britain now? Arthur, as he was the one who was able to pull the sword out of the stone. I hope the story is clear. It's easy. Please go through the word meanings nicely, right? Learn them and we'll discuss the question and answers in the next video. Thank you.